Hi students, if you've come here today, you probably find yourself struggling with one of the harder elements to do in literature, writing or finding strong thematic statements. Hopefully this video will help you better understand theme and write strong thematic statements. First, we need to start by understanding what is theme. I like to think of theme as the message. Theme is the message that the author wants to get across to us, the reader. So I like to think of it as this little message in a bottle idea. But instead of the message being in a bottle, it's in the story that we're reading. You can also think of theme as being the moral or lesson the author wants you to learn or take away from the story. Believe it or not, we can actually learn lessons about life from the mistakes of characters in books, stories, or novels. Hence, the theme, the lesson we can learn from them, or the message. Next, it might be helpful to think of what theme is not. The theme is not one word. The theme is also not a definition. And finally, it should not be specific to a story or a character. For example, I wouldn't want to say the theme of a story is love. Love is a topic. It's one word. It's not a lesson I can learn. You also shouldn't say, love is when you have feelings for someone. That's a definition. That's not a lesson I can learn about love from the story. And it also shouldn't have character names like Cinderella loves Prince Charming. That might be the main idea of that movie, but it's definitely not the theme. So now that we've looked at what theme is and given a definition of it, and also looked at things that a thematic statement should not be, it might be helpful to actually look at what a good thematic statement should be and steps to writing one. So there's a few things that a good theme should be or have. So a good theme is a complete sentence that states the lesson the author wants us to learn. Remember, not a word, not a topic, not a definition. A complete sentence. A good theme is also about a very specific topic and what can be learned about it. So again, not the word, but the lesson about that topic. Now the final thing you want to make sure that a good theme is or has is that you want it to be one that applies to multiple stories, novels, movies, and people. Themes should be universal. They can apply to this book, that movie, my life, and yours. So now that you have a good idea of the things that should be in a good thematic statement, it's probably helpful to kind of cover what steps you can use when writing a thematic statement, as that will be important in your English class. Now obviously, before starting to find theme, you need to have a piece that you're working with. Whether you've read a story, watched a movie, a book, first have a piece that you've completed. Once you've read that book or watched that movie, now you can brainstorm a list of topics that that piece deals with. Does the piece deal with love? Does it deal with friendship? Are there enemies? Challenges? Brainstorm a list of maybe 4 to 5 topics that can get you started. Once you have your list of topics, see if there's a specific topic that jumps out at you. Maybe it's very clear that friendship is the biggest idea in that book. If not, you might need to come back to that later. But ask, what lesson about this topic can people learn? What message do we think the author is trying to send about friendship or about love? Once you have that topic and have started to come up with what lesson about that topic people can learn, you need to work on combining that topic and the lesson learned into a thematic statement. Take our Prince Charming story, for example. Maybe you decide that a thematic statement dealing with love could be people find love in unexpected places. There I have my topic plus a lesson I can learn about it. Now I can apply that to the movie Cinderella, I can apply that to other Disney movies, I can apply that to my own life. It's something that is universal. So if after going through all that, some of this is still a little foggy to you, let's try one together. So the first thing I need to do after, of course, watching the movie is to begin to generate topics. I need to think, what topics or ideas, concepts are in the movie that I can start to build my theme around? So as I think about Finding Nemo, well, I can think, well, there's friendship in there. Marlin, Dory, Nemo, they all kind of make friends with different people. They have to overcome different fears in crossing the ocean, being out there alone, when Nemo's in the dentist office. They definitely have to have some determination to do what they want to do and in the end hopefully make it back to each other. And they have to put their trust in someone other than themselves to do it. So as I stop to consider those topics, remembering that I'm trying to get to the theme or the message that the author is trying to get across to me, I think, is there a way to combine these topics to get at what I think to be the best overall theme? Or is there one that stands out more than others? Now, as I gave it some thought, I really thought there were a couple important parts that needed to be in my thematic statement. Friends or friendship is pretty huge, but there's also a trust factor. Marlin has to trust Dory. Dory, in turn, has to trust Marlin. Nemo has to trust numerous people along the way. And in doing so, they kind of make friends, but help them overcome their fears. So I decided to write the thematic statement. Sometimes you have to let go and trust your friends and family, even if you're afraid. Now, when I stop and think about that thematic statement, I truly do feel like it fits the movie Finding Nemo, but I can also think of other movies or books or stories that it would apply to, and could even apply it to my own life, or my students might also think, hey, that can apply to my life, which, if you remember, was one of those things on the checklist that we talked about earlier. So if we look at our thematic statement, remember our don'ts. We don't want it to be one word. Well, it's not. It's a sentence. We don't want it to be a definition. It's not defining friendship or trust, friends. It's not defining any of those. And it shouldn't be specific to the movie. So we didn't include any names from the movie, like Marlin, Finding Nemo, Dory. All right, so none of our don'ts are in there. And if you remember our list of what we do want it to have, we wanted it to be a sentence, which it is. We wanted it to have a specific lesson to be learned. Remember, the message or theme. It does teach a lesson that we can learn from the movie. And it should be universal, which we've already talked about. So that thematic statement really seems to fit the do's and don'ts that we've talked about. So before we end our journey today on thematic statements, let's just go over some of the main things that we learned or covered today. We defined what theme was as the message, moral, or lesson that the story teaches. Remember, theme is the message. I think that's the neatest way to remember it. And finally, the last things to look at was kind of our checklist, things to make sure that we do or don't have in our thematic statement. Remember to make sure that it is a full sentence and not just a topic or one word. Also make sure it is a lesson that applies to many people, stories, movies. You want it to be universal. And lastly, you want to make sure it's not specific to the story or the characters. You don't want a story title, movie title, or character names in your thematic statements. So students, I wish you the best of luck on your journey to writing strong thematic statements. Good luck!